Anansi was a large, hairy, long-legged spider who lived in the forest. All animals despised him because he was a trickster. He wasn't strong like elephant or brave like lion. He wasn't beautiful like gazelle or fierce like tiger. He couldn't run like deer, sing like bird, buzz like bee, or swim like fish. But Anansi was smart. Anansi was determined that all the other animals should recognize his greatness, so he tried getting into their good books. He would bring presents to Tiger and play with his children, praise Peacock for his tail feathers or Ox for his horns, but it didn't work. They still despised him. He was still just Anansi, small, black, and hairy. Anansi had to do something to make the animals respect him. He knew that all of them were afraid of Snake. Dog and Rabbit fled from Snake in terror, and even Elephant turned aside if he saw Snake hanging from a branch in his way. One day, all the animals were gathered together, as was the custom, boasting to one another, telling each other of their beauty and strength. When it was Anansi's turn, he climbed up a tree trunk and shouted, "I am the most beautiful. I am the strongest of all." Hyena laughed and Donkey brayed, and the monkeys jumped up and down, screeching and howling in amusement. All the animals laughed. "What can you do, Anansi?" asked Tiger, "to prove that you are the strongest?" "I will capture Snake," boasted Anansi. All the animals laughed again. "Anansi," said Tiger, "if you capture Snake, we will agree that you are the strongest. What is more, we will make you the storyteller, and all the animal stories will be called Anansi stories." "All right," said Anansi. "I'll do it." Easier said than done. Anansi had bitten off more than he could chew. Boasting was one thing, but capturing Snake was another. Still, he had accepted the challenge, so he had better think of something smart. Anansi went deep into the forest, where the trees grew tall and long vines hung from their branches. He cut a length of vine and tied one end into a noose. Then he spread out the noose on the path in front of Snake's house and put some berries in the middle of it. Then, holding on to the other end of the vine, he hid behind a tree and waited. Soon Snake came, slithering and sliding down the path. He stopped when he saw the berries and put his head right into the noose to eat them. Anansi yanked his end of the vine and Snake reared up as the noose closed on him. Anansi was pulled out from behind the tree and right across the path into a prickly bush. He let go of the vine and Snake slithered away. The next morning, Anansi was back in front of Snake's house. This time, he had a spade, and he was digging a hole in Snake's path. When the hole was dug, Anansi smeared its sides with grease. Then he covered it up with dry palm leaves and scattered dirt on them, so that it looked perfectly natural. Then he sat down behind the tree and waited. Soon Snake came slithering and sliding down the path. He saw the dusty palm leaves in his way and tapped them lightly with his head. Down they fell into a greasy pit. Snake carried on. He was so long that he just made a bridge of himself with his head on one side of the pit and his tail on the other, and he slithered away. Next morning, Anansi went to the river and cut a long bamboo pole, longer than Snake. He dragged the pole up the pathway to Snake's house. The snake looked out to see what Anansi was doing. "Morning, Anansi," said the snake. "Good morning, Mr. Snake." "Anansi," said Snake, "I am beginning to get vexed. One day you make a noose. For me. Another day you dig a greasy pit. Why don't you leave me alone?" "Well," said Anansi, "I so admire you, Mr. Snake, so respect you." "Is that so?" said the snake. "Then what is the meaning of the greasy pit and the noose?" "I made a bet," confessed Anansi. "A bet? What kind of bet?" "I had a bet with Tiger that you were the longest animal in the forest." "Of course," said the snake. "Some don't believe it. Some say crocodile is longer. Some say giraffe's neck alone is longer than your whole body." Snake was really vexed now. "Listen to me, Anansi," he said. "Why didn't you tell me all this before?" "I had to capture you," said Anansi, "to measure you." "That's all you want to do? Measure me?" "That is so." Snake stared at Anansi out of his cold black eyes. "If you are lying to me, Anansi, you are dead." Anansi looked back at Snake and never blinked. Anansi the spider was a great liar. "All right," agreed Snake. "Measure me against the bamboo pole." So Snake lay straight along the pathway, and Anansi put the long bamboo pole beside him. Anansi walked up and down, pushing and nudging, so the snake and the pole lay exactly side by side, touching. Then he walked up to the snake's head again. "This won't work," Anansi said, "because if your tail is at one end and I mark it, by the time I walk up to your head, you can move up. So you will seem even longer, and I can't get a true measurement." "Then tie my tail," said the snake. "Tie my tail to that end." So Anansi took a strong rope and tied Snake's tail to one end of the bamboo pole. Then he walked back to Snake's head. "Your tail will hold fast?" asked Anansi. "Yes." "Now stretch out," said Anansi. "Stretch out as long as you can, and we will see how far your nose can reach." Snake stretched and stretched, and Anansi waited until Snake's eyes were closed from stretching. Then, quick as a flash, he tied Snake's head to the pole as well. Then he ran to the middle and put in another tie and another, and scampered up and down, tying Snake to the pole until he couldn't move an inch. Snake was captured. The word spread through the forest like fire. The monkey told Parrot, and Parrot told Bear, and all gathered to see Snake tied to the bamboo pole. Anansi boasted away. "I am great. From now on, I am the storyteller, and all the animal stories are Anansi stories.